Hello and welcome everyone. This is Not Ever or Dave or Not Dave or whatever. It doesn't matter, man. Bringing you guys back into the Eastern Front today. We'll be looking, of course, as we scroll up here. I should have started up here, but I am not good at this. We'll get better as time goes on. We're going to take a look today at the end of the first turn, and we're going to then, of course, process the AI's turn. And so this video will mostly be a wrap-up video. And then after this, after we're done everything, we'll go ahead, we'll start the next turn. So just to recap, in the north here, we made our dash towards the river here when we got to the river. So we did well there. As well, we sent a corps up here of panzers and, of course, this fellow to cut off Riga from the west. And in doing so, we basically created a pocket over here that these guys won't be able to escape from, I don't think. They could, of course, try to push west over this way, or sorry, push east, sorry, and try and get back onto their side of the line, but I don't think they'll be able to push across. And I'm fairly happy with how the north went for us here on this first turn. Then we have, of course, if we go down here, we have in the center, south of north of the Army Group North, in Army Group Center here, we made our push as well, also towards the city of Minsk. So we were trying to surround the city. We pushed with one arm this way and another movement going this way. We're trying to get over around here somewhere, and hopefully we can cut off Minsk, these units surrounding Minsk as well. We also sent one corps from the south and one corps from the north to link up here around this river crossing around Mosty, and we managed to do that. So these units over here are also cut off right now for the Russians, and hopefully next turn we can go ahead and bag those. We can start to make these units, force them to surrender that are in this pocket. Let me put that back. Force these units in here to surrender, and from there we'll be able to move back towards the east and try and push up against this Minsk pocket here that we're trying to form. South of that, even, if we take a look way down here in the far south, on the very farthest reaches of our line right now, we have Army Group South, the aptly named Army Group South, which also achieved its objectives for this turn. We were able to push right down like this. We sent one Panzer division all the way down there, and the rest of this Panzer Corps was also able to line up here, create a deep breakthrough, and encircle this pocket of Lvov resistance. And we also, of course, managed to push up along the borderline there, trying to push towards the city of Lvov itself in order to hopefully capture it next turn. This I'm not quite as happy about as I was the other two army groups. Of course, down here, even though we managed to link up with the Romanian border, I think that we have a too wide of a gap right here, so that if the Soviet Union was to counterattack along this line right here, for example, it would be able to cut off this panzer group and this panzer group here and link up the pocket over here with all these forces on this side by going this way. So that's a little bit of a cluttered mess there, those lines. What I'm afraid, though, is that if they do push in here like this and they cut us off down here, then we won't be able to begin surrendering all these units as they're going to link up their pocket. It was kind of a ballsy maneuver we did. It's what I would imagine to be the most efficient maneuver if it pays off. The Russians, of course, not in very good supply, not with very good morale to start off the war, so we should be able to hold our positions. I don't have to worry about, for example, even though these units here are surrounded on both sides by quite a few Soviet divisions, I don't have to worry about them being attacked and being overwhelmed, I don't think. My biggest worries are, of course, counterattacks along these axes here to surrender or cut off our own units from the breakthrough that they'd made. So we'll go ahead here. We'll see how it all ends. Hopefully these units down here survive. They don't get cut off or anything. And the best we can hope for, really, is that everything works out in our advantage. If it doesn't, I'll be very disappointed. But let's go ahead and start the turn. So this will be a good look at it as well at what happens when the turn ends. In order to process the turn for both sides, for both the Germans and the Soviets, there are two phases. Sorry, there are two phases to each turn. There is the logistics phase, which is happening right now as we're seeing. And in the logistics phase, what happens is all the units are assessed for supply, if they're in supply, if they're like in range of supply, if they're in range of commanders, if they're in range of the supply lines that they have with the Soviet Union, with the rest of the territory. And then it tries to determine how much of the national supplies that are put out every turn go to each unit. After it does that, it then assesses the movement phase, which basically is where everyone moves. The air units go, which you can see here, they're all the yellow are the air units they're trying to go right now. And then it moves all the ground forces. And then the turn finishes, and it comes back to us. So you can see here there's going to be an attack that's going to play out. So we're being interdicted right now by Russian air forces. We didn't do a very good job of, well, I didn't do, I'm not going to blame you guys for it. I didn't do a very good job of attacking the Russian airfields in the beginning, the opening phases. I did destroy some planes, but it definitely wasn't an efficient attack, and it didn't work out, I think, the way that I would have preferred it to be. So here we go. We're going to have to now reassess, so we're going to have to determine all the outcomes of battles that are going to take place. I don't think there's going to be any battles, really. There might be some movement back into our territory, but I don't think the Russians are going to be so bold as to attack us in any of our positions. Even though we don't have the best positions, some of our units are exposed. If you look right now at the map, actually, you can see at the front here. Uh-oh, I just crashed the game. If you take a look here, these guys are kind of exposed. They don't have a lot of reinforcements from down this way. So, I mean, it could theoretically be pushed in behind and even attacked there from the bottom. Now the screen has gone black. That's not good. But, we could be attacked there from those bottom forces down here. But I don't think we have to worry about that. The Russians, of course, are going to be much more concerned with moving out of threat. So moving back into their own lines, trying to even out the lines so that they don't get caught in big pockets, which is the main function of what we're trying to do so far. We're seeing a couple more bombing runs. I was expecting this to go a little bit faster, but, there it is, finally going to finish. So they managed to attack us with a couple of fighters and a couple of bombers. They didn't really do very much, though, I don't think. I haven't actually been able to see what happened on the turn yet. I missed it as the screen was flipping around all over the place. So we'll take a look here in 1 second at what the movement turned out, how the Russians moved their forces. And as our logistics phase here comes to an end, we'll be able to actually go into the movement phase for our own turn and just take a look at what's going to happen now. So here's the, also, this I should have showed you too. This is also the losses that we've encountered so far in the game. We lost 19,000 men there on that turn. Wow, that must have been, I wonder what that was from. Let's see. That's a ton of losses, though. I did not expect it to be that high. So we lost 19,000 men, which is quite a few. We've had 8,000 killed so far, mostly through combat. This is the total. We've lost 25,000 men total in the campaign. So the first turn we lost only about, less than 6,000. But on that last turn, during the Russian turn, we lost 19,000. That's a ton of people, a ton of forces. We lost 50 guns as well, 54 AFVs. And then overall, we've had 16,000 disabled, 8,000 killed, almost 9,000 killed. The Soviets, though, have been dealt a pretty hard blow to. Almost 200,000 men they've lost so far. They've had about 68,000 captured, 119,000 disabled, and then they've lost about 11,000 to combat. So despite the fact that we've pushed them back in a lot of places, the men killed for both sides is quite close. Much closer than I think it should have been. And we look at the air losses here. We can take a look at how many losses we've encountered, we've incurred, and how many we've dealt to them. Total losses for us, we've lost 94 aircraft. They've lost 1,100 aircraft. So that's a lot. That's very low. I think when it comes to other players playing this game, if I'm correct on the excellent players who know what they're doing in this game, the average losses for the first turn should be like maybe not around 4,000, but I mean 4,000 is a good place to be for inflicting losses in aircraft. We were nowhere near that at all. That's mostly the mostly the issue of me not being a very adept player, as we can see here. But I think, me not being very good at this game will make it more interesting. There's always that chance to fail, which is a lot more pronounced among a newer player than it is amongst a player who's played this game a couple times and already knows the patterns and the movements of the game. So we look here in the north. It looks like the Russians weren't able to do very much. They tried to consolidate themselves in this pocket, actually. They tried to form a little resistance over here. They might actually, if I take a look here at might be a naval transport in there, if I can just get over to this here for 1 second. Oh, what am I? There we go. There might be, is there a naval, can I not see naval ports? Maybe I can't, actually. Let me hold on 1 second. I will make sure I figure out what's going on here. And if I can just get a few, there we go. Okay, so let's take a look here. So this could be a port. Is there a, doesn't say there's a Baltic Sea Zone shipping available 10,000. There is a port there. Okay, port is there. So they might be trying to extricate their forces through naval movement by lining up here along this port. So for example, if we go back to this They've formed this nice little pocket here. If we were to push them against this, against the sea right now, they might be trying to escape and go ahead, you know, up there and back over to the side of Riga. So we're going to try and push this really hard, I think, this turn. We're going to try and attack them, but we'll discuss strategy more later. Let's take a look here in Army Group Center. Looks like Army Group Center wasn't able to really do very much. They withdrew from Minsk quite a bit, which is not what I wanted, but, you know, it makes sense. It's the right thing to do for them. The right thing to do. So we were trying to come over here, and it looks like now they have withdrawn a lot of their forces, leaving only some HQs in there, and a couple infantry, as well as a panzer, not panzer, sorry, but a couple tanks. Not a lot of stuff in there now. Might be best just to take the city this turn, and then we'll try and line up along the river here, but we'll come back to that as well in a little bit. And finally, let's take a look at Army Group South. How did that one fare? This is the one that I'm most interested to see. And it looks like they didn't try to push back across the across our lines here and try and cut us off by, so we of course tacked down this way. They didn't try to push back this way or even down here and try and cut us off. In fact, it looks like for the most part they withdrew more to the east, instead deciding to sacrifice these forces over here. So that's fine. I'm fine with how that turns out. But that's been the first turn of War in the East, and that's going to be it, days. That's going to be it for now. I'll come back in a little bit with the next series of videos for the next turn. And otherwise, guys, hope you have a great day. And that's it. I'm out.